Hi everybody, my name is Alan, and on behalf of the crew I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Bridging Heaven and Earth. You know, it's interesting, today was an unusual day. I've been feeling it coming on for about a week or so, but it was interesting that today I think there's going to be a shift in the momentum, a shift away from division, away from separation, away from conflict, into a momentum of love, of connectedness, of collaboration. Today we're filming in Santa Barbara, October 23rd, 1998, and today people and leaders and peoples who have basically fought for, I guess, thousands of years seem to have come to some sort of resolution. People who seem to feel that hate and hatred were better than love and consciousness. But today they shook hands. I mean, when I saw that on TV with Arafat and Netanyahu shaking hands, and then they shook this way, then they went into the other handshake, I thought they were doing some, you know, Boy Scout thing. I mean, it was, you know, and then it was just an extraordinary experience. And what we've been seeing around lately is that shift is starting to happen, and that shift is starting to happen with more velocity. And our guests tonight are examples of that and helpers in that, and helping the shift and helping the momentum grow to bring us into an experience of love, of oneness, to recognize that there is only one power, one love, one creator, one energy that is us all, and we're all brothers and sisters here in this experiment of love on planet Earth. And I can see that happening more and more, and I'm just so delighted to be part of that and to welcome the people we have tonight to share with you. We have Ramana, who is an extraordinary being, and he's the developer of a radical awakening process, and we'll talk to him about what awakens, how it happens, what his process was to come to that awakening, and how it helps propel him and all those who experience that into more and more experiences of love and connectedness. And we also have with us Lorin, Grean, who's been with us before. She's an old friend of ours, and we're just delighted to have her back with us again. She's a master harpist, and she's a singer-songwriter, and we're just so happy and pleased to have Ramana and Lorin with us tonight. So as we normally do at this time, join me in a short meditation, but remember, we're going to go right out of the meditation into Lorin's first set, which is Love Goes On, and it's words and music by Paul Brady, and it's going to be performed by Lorin Grean. So right out of the meditation, we're going to go right to that. So please join me in a short meditation. Thank you.
People like us, we search the sky at night, waiting for stars to fall. Holding our breath and hoping our turn will come, waiting to hear the call. Time after time, we seem to stand in line, year after endless year. Wondering if the moment has passed us by, and where do we go from here? Dreams may come and go. Dreams may come and go. Things may hurt us so, but why should we be afraid? come shine, love goes on. You and me here with nothing to fear when love goes on and on. People like us, we know the sky at night is only a day away. Stars will come out. This time our chance may come. Tomorrow could be the day. Dreams may come and go. Dreams may come and go. But I still love you so. There's nothing to stop us now, as long as we know wherever we go, love goes on. Rain or come shine, all of the time, love goes on. You and me here with nothing to fear when love goes on and on. On and on.
Thank you, Lorin. That was beautiful. So we're on the set with Ramana. So, like Lorin was saying, love goes on, and you can experience it. What is it about this human experiment of humans that prevents humans from having that experience of the love that they really are? The love, just the love. What do you think that is?
Well, I think that you can point to a lot of outside kind of influences like early childhood and the kind of the environment that we're growing up in. I think it's easy to get caught up in that kind of thing, though. And instead of looking at it in terms of, well, in transpersonal psychology, the early transpersonal theorists said that the problem really is not inherent in the content of the material of the mind that creates these kinds of things, but really a case of mistaken identity. That one thinks that one is this person that's caught up in all of these problems. And when I say mistaken identity, if you could take the identity off of that one that is suffering with all the problems and see oneself in a different viewpoint, then in a way those kinds of pullings and tuggings of those tendencies of that personality that one would previously falsely identify themselves with, those tendencies have a tendency of falling away. Maybe not all at once, but over time. There is kind of an awakening that can take place of the nature of one's true being.
So in other words, like we're kind of like rising above a maze. We're in the maze and we feel the suffering, and if we can have an experience of being above it, we're not so affected by it?
Yeah, I think we even have to take a step further back. Because Alan, I think that what you're talking about is like a witness position. Oftentimes the Buddhists will talk about this, creating this neutral observer or this witness. And yet the neutral observer still is a person, still an I. It's still a central location. So that, of course, that even in psychotherapy, for instance, it's useful to get out of the problem that one is in, to step back and look at it. So that is useful. I do have to say it's useful. But what I'm really talking about is something different than just a witness position or standing or being above and seeing from below. Is what I'm really talking about is when I'm talking about identifying with one's true nature, is to see oneself as who one really is. And that is no central location at all.
Right, so when you talk about awakening, you mean awakening to that experience. When you talk about a radical awakening process, that's the awakening that you would hope people have, and at some point you had, right?
The awakening is awakening to one's true nature. And it really happens at a level of knowing, at a very fundamental level. Because if you're looking for an experience, I mean, I think that all of us have had experiences of, or at least many of us have had experiences of peace, of oneness, of knowing who one is. Maybe it happened in nature in a quiet moment, maybe in a deep meditation, maybe through some experiences of native indigenous culture, shamanic practices, where you had a sense of all of a sudden something really opens up, and you do lose this kind of sense of this identity that we are, that's kind of secular and small and provincial, and opening up to something much larger. And yet what I'm talking about is that is still an experience, and that's, I think, where a lot of us are caught. We have these experiences of really opening up and knowing oneself, and then it turns into a memory. And then we have this I, the same person that kind of created the problem in the first place, this identification, this person that's trying to get something, to do something better, to somehow get some kind of practice or some kind of meditation or something that we can do, that we can somehow recapture that experience. So what I'm talking about is out of the whole set, completely out of the set of this person that's trying to do something.
So it's almost like beyond the practice. It's an experience of something that's an ongoing...
It's even beyond experience, because experiences come and go. I mean, you notice, there's probably days that you feel great and all of a sudden you feel connected. Other days you feel like, oh, well, this is like nothing's working for me. And you start questioning everything that you start doing. So that's the realm of experience, and that's the kind of the cycle that most of us are caught in. Caught in the experience of when it's good, and when it isn't, and somehow the spiritual path is about trying to get it good all the time. See, the problem, again, is not inherent in the content of what that one is doing. The problem lies in the identification there is somebody actually here trying to do something. The case, as I said, as we opened up the program with, is false identification of who one is.
So, and your process brings you into a true identification.
Experience. It's a touching into something. It's a recognition, and it only takes a moment to really... I have a whole weekend intensive where there's an awakening, where one sees who one is. It only takes a moment. But I spend 14 hours setting the whole thing up. And once one sees who one is, truly, and sees the face of one's true nature, and this is the test, if anybody's wondering about if they've really done that or not, is that you don't forget that there's never a question that this self-inquiry process, which is an established practice in India, the process or the practice of self-inquiry. And true self-inquiry, you only need to ask yourself that question, who am I once? Once you see that face, you never have to ask that again. That's the shift in a radical awakening. It's something that's stable throughout all experiences, and it lives in the realm of knowing.
And how did you first come to that experience?
By grace. I think that's how it happens with all of us. Grace came in the form, for me, of my teacher, right over here, H.W.L. Poonja, we all affectionately know him as Papa-ji. He died last September, but gave satsangs, or gatherings of people who are awakening to the truth of who they are. And it really happened, and again, for me, it was just one moment. What I did was I was about maybe this close to him, as we're about as close as we are with each other right now, looking to each other's eyes very much as we're looking into them. Mm-hmm. And what happened is when I looked into his eyes, I saw a very, very vast universe. It was bigger than anything that I've ever seen before and experienced. It's almost like I fell into those eyes and I got lost. And the universe that I fell into totally absorbed me to this one that I called previously Yukio. Disappeared. He wasn't there anymore. And there was this breathing, living consciousness that I was that seemed to span everywhere, that included everything. It was in a moment of realization that I realized that what I was looking at was not a vast universe, not a incredible experience of like who I was, because there was no one there to experience it, but what I really got in the realization that as I was looking into my teacher's eyes, that I saw myself.
And everything.
Which is everything. And it's almost like, it's not really everything, like there are things here.
It is and it isn't.
It's like the stuff that it's all made out of. Mm-hmm. The stuff that it's all composed of. One way of looking at it is as if who we are is the substratum of everything that exists. And it's like a blank movie screen. And what we're playing this little movie right here on camera. It will look to the people who are watching this lines and dots on a screen. What if the lines and dots on the screen were not just on the television, but was just what was happening right here? And who we were, or who we are, is existing as this movie screen. So as the movie screen, notice how the fire on a movie screen, after the movie's over, the screen's not burned. There's people swimming. The screen is not wet. So in that way, who you are is not touched in that way. It could be fully experienced. I mean, when you're in a movie, it's like, it's all really there. Just like in a dream, it's all very real. And yet, when all of the dust settles, of the mind settles, you find that there is this screen that has been untouched the whole time.
And did you find in your life that when you had that awakening moment, mm-hmm. that although you knew what awakening was, that it stayed with you on a consistent level, or was it just like rubbing up against a magnet and then getting more and more?
Yeah. Papa-ji definitely had a lot of energy. In fact, there's a lineage, although he would never use that word lineage, but I see it as a transmission that first came from his teacher over here, Sri Ramana Maharshi, who was considered to be one of India's greatest saints, who died in the early 50s. There was a definite transmission that took place, and it's a transmission that is real contagious, and it was transferred to my teacher Papa-ji and then transferred to me. And then
it was transferred to others. I mean, there are others in there, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, something interesting happened when he died. I was in a...
Which one?
When Papa-ji died, last September 6th. I was with a group of people who were watching a movie of his. There was about 300 of us. It was kind of a memorial service for him in America. And every one of them, we had this kind of sharing afterwards, and it seemed to be consensus that everybody got a piece of his awareness that was like a little germ, like a virus in a computer, mm-hmm. that just like starts growing.
Uh-huh. So even after that awakening experience you had, which was before that, this came and like propelled it even further, or helped spark it even more, would you say?
It's something that one has to be careful of, Because
what does one apprehend?
well, of these experiences, because you get these tremendous hits of the self, and you start thinking that that's what it is. So then, once you start thinking that's what it is, you start running into the problem of, well, I'm it when I'm experiencing it, and I'm not when I'm not experiencing it. So there's something much deeper, which is a knowing that I started talking about before. So yes, the experiences definitely have deepened, have increased. There seems to be a natural, spontaneous and natural deepening into this awareness. But that comes in the realm of experience. One thing that hasn't left is the knowing. Experiences come and go. I have, like you, good days and bad days. But there's something that's stable and something that is inherently in everything, which is who we all are. And that's something that is ever present.
And your process, was your process taught to you by your teachers? Or was that part of the training, or part of, and we're using words, so
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
part of whatever, came down, or was that after the transmission at the movie, or was that little piece that she got, was that the radical process?
Yeah, it's a fair question.
I try to be fair as best I can.
I came from the background of being a transpersonal psychotherapist, and in transpersonal psychotherapies, there's a lot of experiential things that seem to move a client into this oneness or love or unknowing space. So when I watched Papaji work, there were two levels that happened. There was one level that there was nothing going on at all except a straight, direct transmission that was in silence. And this is a report of many people who both come to my satsangs, people who have been to satsangs with Papaji, which is that their mind becomes silent. And it's almost like a jamming frequency. I spent a number of months this last year at the Sri Ramana Ashram in southern India. And the air around there was thick with silence. It was literally a jamming signal of the mind. When the mind drops away,
what exists?
What is just arises naturally. So that is what it's like. And when I watched Papaji work, I saw at one level that that's all that was going on. At another level, I saw a very incredible hypnotherapist. I saw a master hypnotist. I saw a master of words. I saw a master of mood and environment and technique. And I observed that and watched that and learned from it. And there were definitely patterns, that he was doing that I adapted in my radical awakening process.
But still it's spontaneous for you because you're a living consciousness, right?
Yeah, every moment is that way actually, not just in a process.
Yeah, it could be no other way except you're in recognition of it.
Yes.
It's a way to describe it.
Yes. I feel like what I really do is invite people into the consciousness and awareness of my teachers.
And can you do that in groups of thousands, or do you do it one-on-one? What is seemingly the preferable, or the way it works best, or least?
I don't know. I keep hearing stories from people, of people who've come to my satsangs, who come to a weekend, that all these time bombs go off, that I have no idea what's going on. I don't really feel like. It's an interesting thing. I've been recently feeling like that I'm more of a function than a person. That that there's this thing that kind of happens around me, and it doesn't seem to be under any kind of volitional personal control of mine. So in a way, I've kind of surrendered.
So you have to surrender to be a function.
Yes.
But you can still eat, though.
I can
still in a human body.
I still get hungry. I still like chocolate ice cream.
I understand. So that's like an interesting process for you to be going through.
Oh yeah.
So at some point it became like, you were doing this, and then all of a sudden it was like it was being done around you.
Really, absolutely. I had a lot of plans and ideas, and my teacher Papaji, he gave me the name of his own teacher Sri Ramana Maharshi, which I thought was an incredible blessing, and in a way a curse, I thought at first. It's like, how am I going to live up?
Yeah, if you think it's going to be a blessing, it's going to be in the duality. If you think about something, it's got to have both sides.
And my mind played with that too.
Right.
I'm thinking, how am I going to, he gave me instruction to live and teach as Ramana. I mean, the guy was like India's greatest saint. I'm just about the farthest thing from a saint that you can get.
Well, we won't get into that. And plus we got, Ramana's picture on it, so we'll leave that one. All right, maybe now's a good time to take a break and hear Lorin's set. Stranger from the Prairie. She's going to perform it, and the words and music by a local poet, Enid Osborne. And then also she's going to do Hidden Heart, written and performed by Lorin. That's going to be an instrumental. And then we'll come back and talk more about the radical awakening process with Ramana. So I'm just excited to hear Lorin again. So Lorin, whenever you're ready.
I have no feel for the sea. I'm a stranger from the prairie. And when the first shell spoke to my ear, I was a free child of the Pecos Valley. And the shell, she was a sensuous pink lady, singing Baba Himayo Siana Gaya, singing Baba Himayo Siana Gaya. My mama showed her to me. Ma wore the dust of running horses. The shell was from her grandmama, her papa living in the roses, and her 2 tall aunts grew lemon trees and poppies in their backyard. And they'd stay up in the evenings to smell the ocean air and count the stars. But she wouldn't give an arrowhead for all of California. Mama wouldn't give an arrowhead for all of California. Singing Baba Maya Siana Gaya, singing Baba Maya Siana Gaya. And now I live by the sea. You may be lonely, Mama told me. Oh, California, rushing by, how many times you bought and sold me. But my love and I grow lavender and poppies in our backyard, and we walk upon the mesa, look out to the sea when I grow tired. And the sea, she is my bounteous blue prairie. Oh, oh, singing Baba Maya Siana Gaya, singing Baba Maya Siana Gaya, singing Baba Himaya Siana Gaya. I give great thanks to Enid Osborne for writing such beautiful lyrics and such a beautiful melody. This is Hidden Heart.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Lorin. So we're back with Ramana. So is there any way we could do something experiential on the set, you know, to like...
Okay. Would have to be something short, I understand, because
Yeah,
of the time.
right.
Let's see what... Well, you know, I'd like to address something. There's a lot of, in the New Age, there's a lot of things that we hear, and we all kind of take it for granted, like, yes, we're all one, and we all are experiencing things as one, and we are love, and we are awareness. And we hear these things, and we can all nod our heads about those things, but I really wonder if you could really get the impact of what that really means, the implications of we are one, what that really means. I mean, if we are all one, we're not saying that we're just one with one another. I mean, I'm sure that's in there. But if we really are one with everything, that means that we are one with the little ant that's crawling into an anthill right now, you know, underneath the studio. We are the fisherman on the other side of the world that's just getting up right now to do his morning fishing. We're the man in death row waiting for his sentence. We are the black hole that is sucking up a whole entire solar system right now. We are the sun that's novaing out somewhere in some galaxy that's burning up all the planets. We are the Milky Way that's moving at thousands of miles per hour through space, that we're all of that. And I'm just wondering, experientially, if we can, instead of having the words, we are all one, just be words, to actually be able to bring in the awareness that really, what I call it, non-local awareness. Local awareness is in this body, in this head, in the mind, processing everything. What if you were to take awareness to be, we really are one. You and I are one, and you are one with everything. So experientially right now, and maybe other people could try this with us, if you can get the idea right now that you are not only this body that's sitting here listening to me, but you are that ant, that you are that fisherman, that you are the sun that's going around the planet, the sun that we're circling right now. We are, and you are, the entire universe from the far ends to farther than your mind can possibly ever fathom. And to just stop dropping away right now of local awareness and opening up to everything that you are, this moment. And then to get the idea that that body that's sitting there right now is just something that's being used. It's just part of the creation, no different than this glass of water. But somehow it's channeling through that body right now, so that it's now using those eyes to see right now. That everything that is now listening through those ears. Tell me if you get a sense of your perceptics changing, your perceptions changing as a result of like this non-local awareness. And give me a report of what you're...
Well, I don't really have a local awareness generally, so but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but it's natural, fairly natural to me, but I experience it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's add something to this now. We have the experience of non-local awareness of like moving through that body, through those eyes. Now what I'd like you to do is to turn that awareness the other way. Instead of flowing through this way, that your attention goes the other way, back.
Would the process include closing my eyes?
It could be, it doesn't matter. You can imagine though that a mirror is coming in front of you. And awareness, the pure awareness that you are, that is everything, is now looking, instead of out here, is looking back at itself and seeing itself. So that that awareness becomes aware of itself existing, that it awakens to its own existence. Yeah, good, that's it. allow the perceiver, the awareness, to see itself. What is seen? What's there?
Is that a question?
Yes. Yes. I want you to look. I want you to look. And let me give you just a few more quick instructions. When I snap my finger, we're going to have 1 second, or maybe even a quarter of a second. For that quarter of a second, I want you to stop your mind. That's doable in a quarter of a second, it really is. Maybe 2 or 3 seconds kind of tough, but a quarter of a second is always there to do this. To stop all mind, to stop all thinking, to stop all desiring for 1/4 of a second, so everything gets quiet. For that 1/4 of a second, we have a small window to put that mirror in front, so that you get a direct experience without past history, without desires, without thought. You have 1 split second to look back and see the perceiver, so that the awareness can see itself. When I snap my finger, I want you to do that. And when you do that, I want you to tell me what it is that gets perceived. Okay, right now, stop all mind and look back. Find out what is there. Perception is going backwards, so that which is the perceiver now sees itself. Yes. So what's there?
I would describe it as light.
Mm-hmm. Now look, I'm going to snap my fingers 1 more time, and I want you to look beyond the light, to look back even further, because the light is not the perceiver. Light is something that manifests out of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go another step deeper. When I snap my finger, all mind stops, all desire stops for 1/4 of a second, and look back even beyond that light, back further.
Mm-hmm.
Go. Awareness moves backwards to see itself. All right, what's there?
It would be more an experience than I would say it would be something it would be like, I would describe it as love in a way.
Uh-huh. Okay, it's experience of love. So what if then love, that which is perceiving and taking in everything, is actually made up of love? That's the stuff. Remember I said that we're all, the substratum is everything. Mm-hmm. Now we're finding out what the substratum is actually made of, what the stuff is actually consisting of. It's made up of love. And this is why it is that when you say things like, the Christians will say, God is love, it's not a metaphor. It's a literal thing they're talking about, that everything, all that we all are, is in fact love. So if that's true, we have the greatest incredible love affair, the greatest incredible love affair that's possible in all mankind, which is that once the beloved, that everything who you are, dances with you and takes, as it is, taking over any kind of volition or any kind of personal desire of my own. It's like a surrender every moment to that love. And it's the most incredible love affair that one can be in.
Would you say that at some point it's like there's no surrender because there's just it? So you're just moving through, so there's no thing to surrender to? It's just love.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's like a vibration and energy that proceeds and takes form.
Yes, very good. Listen to what you're saying, because the implications of that are great. that there really is, all there is love. That means that there really isn't, I don't want to blow anybody's mind out here, but...
No, there's not that many people watching.
Okay.
No, don't worry about it. We do it every week, so every 2 weeks. In some cities, every week, 3 times a week.
That there really isn't anyone out there. That there really...
And there really isn't anyone in there.
Or in there, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So that oftentimes when people will look and see, when I direct their attention backwards, what they'll say is what they see is nothing. And they kind of think like nothing, like I'm not really getting this because I'm just getting there's nothing. Not really realizing that they got a direct experience of who they are, which is there is nothing. There is just pure awareness, as you saw, as love. Sometimes that pure awareness manifests itself as very deep peace.
Right.
Or bliss.
Satisfaction or bliss, right. It's,
everything.
Would you call that an
okayness.
experience? See, that's when I was talking earlier about an experience of something. See, a lot of times there's, like different word patterns. So, we had Byron Katie on last week who has her own,
Yeah,
and she barely speaks, so that was a really interesting interview. But it's interesting because if somebody could say what you were describing would be called an experience, although it's not, but we're using word,
No, they are different. It's like they ride in tandem, though. That the knowing of the self rides like this, and it's stable and throughout. Experience goes like this. It's a high experience of knowing oneself. It's like forgetting oneself and getting caught up at work, whatever. It's more like, actually, it's why I see it as a sine wave. I've explained it this way sometimes, is that if you look at a sine wave has a positive arc and a negative arc, and a positive arc and a negative arc. There's a line that you can draw through. Now, the interesting thing about that line is when it hits the line, it's neither positive or negative. It is actually nothing. Back down to the negative, hits nothing again. So when you want to look at what's constant throughout that, what you have to acknowledge is the one thing that is constant is nothing. So what I really give people is nothing.
It's interesting you say that because I was thinking, at one point I was talking about writing a book becoming nothing. We think we want to add on, but actually we want to subtract till what's there is there, and we're not identifying with all the rest.
Of course, the problem with becoming nothing is that it implies that there is somebody to become something, which is nothing.
Yeah, I know. But once you get there, you realize, it's like, that's the interesting part of living in a physical form, in a sense, in a duality, because you have to walk the razor's edge. So you're talking about, so it's easy to pick one side and say, well, there's no other side, but there is the other side, and then there's the place in the middle where, the central point lives.
I call that place where the rubber meets the road.
Well, I don't know if is that what Papaji calls it? You're making it a very American.
He calls it where the relative and the absolute meet.
That sounds more like the spiritual. But everybody understands yours too, I think. So do you find a lot of people, more and more people coming and wanting to have that experience? No, of course you do.
There isn't a person I found that doesn't want that. That ultimately, when I find out, when we get underneath the parts that are up to something or trying to get something, if we subject that or put that one through an inquiry process, we find out that every part, every desire, ultimately, is for the union with the beloved. And there's a lot of consolations that we do when we don't have that, and there's a lot of seeking and a lot of kind of pyrite, kind of fool's gold about getting close to it. But ultimately I find that there isn't anyone who doesn't really want that ultimately.
And there's only one problem in the human condition, the human experiment, is not having that experience. All the rest seem like problems, but really there's only one problem, and all the rest kind of derive from not having that knowing. I would use the word experience, but God forbid I do it again. So would you say...
It's a case of mistaken identity. It's a case of mistaken identity.
But until the identity is no longer mistaken, then it looks like there are other dilemmas and problems in a human life.
Yeah. It's interesting that Ramana Maharshi, when he was dying of cancer, they asked him, his devotees asked him, what does it feel like to have this cancer in your body? And he said, it feels like 100 scorpions are biting my body right now. And they said, are you suffering? And he said, no. Mm-hmm. Because he knew that what was happening at that point really didn't have much to do with who he really was. In fact, some of his last words were, before he died, his devotees were, of course, crying and having a lot of grief watching him go. And he asked them,
why would they have that if they were having that experience? If he had transmitted that experience to them, how does that work?
Because the mind always returns.
The mind always returns.
The mind always. You see,
did it return to him? Was he subject to that same force as far as you could tell? I mean, you weren't in his...
The mind does not, as near as I could tell, the mind does not get enlightened. This is really bad news for the mind, because the mind really wants something. And yet, when one really realizes the mind cannot get enlightened, there's some kind of freedom that happens around that. So yeah.
Even in that, we can mourn the loss of a loved one. In a sense, even though it's oneness returning to oneness, yes. Love returning to yes. love, and yet we as humans cry, and feel the loss.
Mm-hmm. And yet his question was to everybody, as he was dying, was, "Why are you dying?
Why are you crying?
Excuse me. Why are you crying?
I'm dying. You're dying. Let's not get this mixed up.
Yeah.
Unless one of you would like to know."
No, he says, "Why are you crying?" He says, "Because where do you think that I'm going to go?"
Right. And these are people who had his transmission, had experience over and over again. So the dilemma of the human condition is strong. Mind is strong. It seems like a powerful force against the experience of love.
Krishna called it like a team, talking to Arjuna on the battlefield, said it was like a team of wild horses that is just dragging you through the bramble and the bush. So, my teacher Papaji says, because of the strong tendency of the mind, the only thing you really have is to put your attention on God and love every moment. It's the only chance that you have.
Well, I think again, we're almost over with the show, and I mean, it's just really I don't know if you got the feel for what was going on here, but there was just really a powerful love and a powerful energy, and we're using words again, and everybody has different ways of approaching the words of it, but really what we want to have is that knowing of who we really are, that surrender to that experience of that. And if anybody wants any information, we're filming October 23rd. Ramana is holding workshops in LA over the weekend, the 24th and 25th. You can call me. Lorin has concerts around. So call me at 805-687-2053, 805-687-2053, and I'll give you whatever information you need. And also I'd like to thank everybody for all the wonderful letters and calls and just beautiful information we're getting from all over. So God bless you, thank you, good night.